So we're gonna begin. I'm gonna introduce our next speaker, Professor Samir Younès from the University of Notre Dame. Professor Samir Younès is a professor of architecture and the associate dean at the University of Notre Dame, where he has served as director of graduate studies and director of Rome studies. He has published numerous books and articles on art, architecture, aesthetics, etc. And he is the co-translator with David Lovekin of Jacques Ellul's book, The Empire of Nonsense, Art in the Technological Society, which came out in 2014. It's not on the table out there, but it's a very important book if you're interested in Jacques Ellul's thoughts on aesthetics, art, architecture, etc. So it's a very important volume in Ellul's body of work. In any case, let's give a warm welcome to Professor Samir Younès.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me correctly? I hope. Yes, okay, very good. Thank you. My talk is about art and artificial intelligence, but it's mostly about art. In his novel, Notre-Dame de Paris, Victor Hugo gave the second chapter of his fifth book a rather grim title, Ceci tuera cela. This will kill that. The chapter begins with a poignant lament that the cathedral, and by extension great edifices in general, no longer played the role of recorders of the most important human aspirations in stone and in stained glass windows. This role was usurped by the book. A few paragraphs into chapter 2, Hugo declares that le livre tuera l'édifice. The book will kill the edifice, the building. Since these words were written almost 200 years ago, visual and verbal cultures have experienced multiple assaults, with artificial intelligence being the latest of such, and the most far-reaching of such assaults. From Georges Arseny's Mechanical Brain of 1932 to Joseph Weizenbaum's Elisa, the first chatbot in 1966, to Siri, the voice-activated personal assistant in 2011, to OpenAI releasing their ChatGPT in 2022. AI has become an unavoidable presence in society, in particular in the arts. The more recent intervention of artificial intelligence in the arts deeply affected artistic making, ranging from conceptual levels to the levels of execution. It affected three fundamental activities of art: to make, to do, and to reflect on the making and the doing. In other words, using Greek terms, poiesis, praxis, and theoria. Poiesis is making, praxis doing, and theoria thinking. This two-dimensional image, and I insist it's a two-dimensional image, this two-dimensional image produced by AI shows a sculptor molding a female figure out of plaster. The observer might easily err in assuming this to be a photograph of the sculptor in his studio. But neither the artist, nor the sculpture, nor the studio itself exist. They all have been generated by AI. Such an image seems to be suspended rather awkwardly between two well-established artistic practices: the trompe-l'œil on one side and the Gesamtkunstwerk on the other. I'll take each of them very quickly. The trompe-l'œil, as the name implies, to fool the eye. The trompe-l'œil operates on a forced perspective, one that exaggerates a certain optical illusion, as in this example of the church of the vaulted nave of the Church of Sant'Ignazio in Rome, where the perspective points heavenward in the direction of the saint's ascension. The Gesamtkunstwerk, a term coined by Friedrich Trandorff, designates a total work of art, an all-embracing art, an all-embracing art form that contains other art forms. Was it the intention of AI operators here to produce a total work of art? And what about the relationship between the work of art, the artist, the observer, and the social context in which they all live? In 2023, a peculiar statue was exhibited at the Stockholm Science of Technology Museum. Entitled The Impossible Statue, this work was produced by Sandvik Machining Solutions, an engineering firm that specializes in precision manufacturing using generative AI programs. Nadine Krovels, the president of that firm, expressed her satisfaction with the products, stating, quote, that by using all of our capacities, we can significantly improve manufacturing efficiency, reduce waste, and ensure the highest possible quality, end of quote. This statue was realized, we are told, by combining parts of sculptures authored by 5 sculptors: Michelangelo Buonarroti, Auguste Rodin, Takamura Kotaro, Augusta Savage, and Kathy Kollwitz. The statues, I'm going to show you the statues that ostensibly were used to make this product. The statues were Buonarroti's David, Rodin's The Thinker, Kotaro's Hand, Augusta Savage, The Harp, Kotaro's Hand, and Kathy Kollwitz, Pietà. The androgynous figure rises from the folds of flowing steel drapery, and ignoring gravity, a terrestrial globe is suspended, welded onto the right arm in a downward direction. Sandvik Machining Solutions scanned numerous 2D images and converted them into a 3D model. And then, the manufacturing was tested in several digital simulations that allowed the company to reduce the amount of steel needed to carry out the sculpture by half. In their praise for this AI-generated sculpture, the journalists noted that it necessitated 17 sheets of steel and 9 million polygons to realize it. These were the polygonal pieces that they used to assemble the sculpture. This compels one to ask if Buonarroti or Rodin counted the number of chisel strokes that they used in a given sculpture. Did they think of, quote, manufacturing efficiency or the reduction of waste in order to ensure the highest quality? Clearly, counting the number of strokes or of polygonal pieces is an impressive value only for technological mentality. But that's not entirely true. Because on one hand, artists will use all the brush strokes or chisel strokes necessary to achieve their desired form. On the other, more accomplished artists, master artists, know how the perfected images can also be produced with the use of fewer lines, fewer strokes, fewer words. In this case, a reduced number of strokes derives from a considerable skill, a skill that has been honed by years of strenuous work, introspection, and a meticulous comparison with the work of other artists. Developing the penetrating gaze of the artist is a lifelong pursuit to align the mind, the eye, and the hand. This is punctuated with occasional breakthroughs, where master artists of images, master artists of words, use fewer images and fewer words in order to approach the essence of the idea. This is not technical efficiency in the sense given to it in a technological society. Rather, This is efficient relationship. This is an efficient relationship between ideation and execution. To assure the success of ideation and execution, the artistic mind developed artifice. Artifice. There is no art without artifice. Artifice here is understood in the sense of making, designating all human operations that aim either at complementing works of nature or standing as a substitute to works of nature, or painting, or playing the piano, or performing mechanical tasks. From Aristotle, the philosopher, to Ludovico Dolce, the man of letters, from Nicolas Boileau, the poet, to Jean-Philippe Rameau, the musician, there was a prevailing position, one that affirmed that art is hidden by artistry itself. You may recall the famous adage, cacher l'art par l'art même, to hide art by art itself. A great effort in artistic skill consists in hiding the methods and the means of artifice. They are thoroughly deployed by the artist while remaining carefully hidden. A highly sought-after skill on the part of master painters consisted in hiding the brush strokes, as in this example of Raffaello's Madonna del Prato. This position of traditional art was the privileged means to reconcile the artifice with which works of art are produced with the idea of expressing a part of the artistic truth. Artistic skill is hidden by artistry itself. The theologians in the audience may recall this passage from John 19:23, about Christ's robe, and I quote, "Now the coat was without seam, woven whole from top to bottom." End of quote. Artistic skill enables, compels the observer to judge whether a work of art amounts to a coherent whole. In fact, one of the first tasks in observing a work of art consists in whether it coheres as a distinct and identifiable whole. Subsequently, its composition is examined. That is, the ways in which its general volumes, its proportions, its constitutive elements and materials are arranged. Inherent in these observations is the understanding that artistic production depends on two sets of rules. It's those that apply to the maker and those that apply to the made. The first set of rules, the ones that apply to the maker or the artist, include artistic conceptualization, the selection of themes for the purpose of the work of art in question, imitation and invention, the knowledge of artistic traditions, license and even caprice, fiction and allegory, skill in execution, and so on. The second set of rules, the ones that apply to the made, include the propriety of the tools and the materials used in their service of artistic purpose, as well as the properties of the materials that have been selected. When we judge a work of art to be a coherent whole, we do so because we understood its composition, which is the result of the maker's thought as it is brought to bear first on the subject and second on the intended composition, and third on the articulation of the materials at hand. Now we give various names to the tasks involved in artistic composition, and here are some of them: combination, disposition, diminution and exaggeration, regularity and irregularity, repetition, unity and variety, accordance and contrast, proportions and dimensions. To put it differently, successful artistic expression depends on the skilled composition of form that displays at once the purpose for which form was made, as well as the ways with which it was realized. Because the aim of art is to make, to bring something into being. Art has a purpose other than itself. In other words, art has various purposes. It animates the intellectual life of the artist, It stimulates the mind of the observer. It inspires pity. It provokes humor. It elevates moods. And after the French Revolution, art could be transformed into resistance to adverse social conditions. Hence the famous battle cry, aux armes, aux arts, to arms, to arts. In these examples, the purpose of art is not itself. Note, please note, that the purpose, note that the purpose of the impossible statue that I showed you a bit earlier is the impossible statue. This artistic expression expresses itself. It symbolizes itself by severely reducing the possibilities of symbolism. It is identical with itself, which is a condition of nonsense, or no sense. Missing here is the realm of the fictive, that important realm that mediates between the artistically real and the artistically ideal. If you'd like, the mediation between the artistically real and the artistically true. Let's look at a few comparisons. Compare, for example, the realism of Jacques David's Napoleon in his study, showing the emperor hard at work, overseeing the affairs of France in the very, very early hours of the morning, as you can tell, if you can see well, by the clock. Please compare this particular expression of Bonaparte with the idealism of Antonio Canova's Bonaparte as Mars in the courtyard of Palazzo Brera in Milano. Now compare the realism of Gilbert Stuart's Washington and Antonio Canova's George Washington as a Roman patrician, a Roman general and legislator. Consider the verisimilitude of William Marlowe's St. Paul's on a Venetian canal. Here, London's most important cathedral is placed on a characteristically Venetian canal. The painting has verisimilitude, which is another way of saying another order of truth, an artistic truth. In other words, fiction. Artistic fiction. Okay? The impossible statue with the AI artist in studio as well show the following things. Behind this impossible statue is the removal of artistic skill from the province of the artist. AI removes the very act of making from the artist. Ostensibly, then, artists are now almost exclusively conceptualizers who no longer need artistic skills to realize their productions. This is heralded as, quote, the liberation of the artist from skill and from the properties of the materials at hand. A freedom, to quote Jacques Ellul, a freedom from which the artist cannot escape. So there's a peculiar phenomenon arising here. The freedom from skill. The freedom from having artistic skill. What happened here to the concept of artistic will? The expression, Kunstwollen, given by the Viennese art historian Alois Riegel is quite apt here, that of artistic will. Conceptualization requires that a mind considered something to be worthy of being made, and that this very mind is capable of realizing it, of making it, and of devising a strategy to realizing that something with proper skill, apposite means, and adequate materials. Until the object is completed, the idea of making, the purpose for which a thing is made, remains partially realized. The act of making is broken if the subject, the maker, is removed. And this is precisely what AI applications are doing. The maker, the artist, is now several steps removed from the work of art. A great distancing that can eventually become an unbridgeable rupture. These two images point to some unsettling conclusions. By producing the context, the artist, and the art, AI can now occupy a realm of artistic making by staking a claim to reality, to artistic reality itself. A claim similar to the idea of a total work of art, except that AI is staking a claim on reality itself, and not only artistic reality. Students of Ellul will never forget his warning that the technological order will claim reality, all realities, until nothing else remains, until nothing else exists. Finally, with artificial intelligence, we risk losing the very intelligence of artifice itself. Thank you.